I think it's too neat to say that the mind provides the form, the physical world provides the content, because the mind provides the concepts in terms of which everything we say about the world is framed. Even when we talk about the content, for instance, we use terms which are of our fashioning. I mean, for instance, if you're interested in botany or zoology, one of the recurrent methodological questions among people who engaged in classification, for instance, Ernst Mayr and people who are interested in taxonomy, in botany, zoology, and other biological sciences, what one's concerned with, there's a continual division there between what are called lumpers and what are called splitters. People who want to keep the largest names to apply to things in the world, people who want to say everything is different. I mean, there are many different kinds of things. I mean, if you look at dandelions, different dandelions have different numbers of notches in their leaves and the rest. Some of them have very few. Some of them have an awful lot. Are we to say these are all dandelions, or ought we to have some kind of taxonomic classification? And talk about them, give them different names depending on whether they're multi-dissected leaves or hardly dissected leaves. This is the kind of question which is a serious question for botanists. But this means that the way we talk about content is just as much a product of how we bring our minds to bear on the world as it is a matter of the way the world comes up and hits us. So that, I mean, Kant has all this talk about the categories and how the mind constructs the categories into which our description of experience has to be framed or placed. But this is because what he has in mind is that one can. But this is because the question he's concerned with is really a question very like the questions of 20th century linguistic philosophy. The question is, what different kinds of words are there in the world? How do these different kinds of language work? And and when we say anything about the world, how far is it possible? How far are the things that we say about the world to be understood as having a shape that we create? How far is it a result of what happens when we take the world and fit it into that shape? There's a passage a lot of people would be familiar with in T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets, where he talks about language as continually, so to say, distorting our perception of the world. And there have been a lot of people in the last 20 years who've been very much taken up with the idea that somehow our perception of the world is always open to corruption by the fact that our ways of viewing the world and thinking about the world are affected by the language that we bring to our ways of talking about the world. I think this is not only as it should be, but as it cannot help being. And I don't find anything intrinsically absurd or problematic about it. But you have to. But I do think that. Coming back to Kant, that you have to see that in many ways he's kind of opening up a set of issues which can be captured in the form of the question uttered with pathos: how can I tell the truth without using words? I mean, in the last resort, the truths that we tell are themselves truths that we tell, and whatever we tell is formulated in a language which is only 80% a matter of how the world, of the world as it presents itself to us, and is always at least 20% the product of the linguistic decisions which have shaped the language we bring to the description of the world.